CEO of DC Finance's Family Office and High Net Worth Community. And with me today is Ms. Sarit Firon, who is one of the most exceptional tech investors coming out of Israel. So I'm very, very excited to have her here with us. And by the time that people are getting on the call, I will start by reading Sarit's very impressive bio. And then we'll start a discussion about technology. So Sarit has an exceptional bio. I mean, I had to do 2 different posts on LinkedIn just to make it fit. With $4 billion worth of exits she was involved in at different times. Sarit is the co-founder and managing partner of Team8 Capital, the new investment vehicle of the Team8 group. Team8, we'll talk about it later on, the veterans coming out of 8200, which is the known secret cyber AI group from the Israeli army that brought some of, I think, developed some of Israel's most famous entrepreneurs. She's one of Israel's most accomplished investors, known for helping to build companies and bring them to IPO and acquisitions. Sarit brings more than 25 years of global investment and operational experience across Silicon Valley, New York, and Tel Aviv. She's held numerous operational and leadership roles, serving as CEO, CFO, chairperson, and board member at prominent high-tech companies. She served as CFO at MediaMind during its NASDAQ IPO and acquisition by DSG Corp for $500 million, almost, as well as PCube during its $200 million acquisition by Cisco. She has also led the seed round of Datorama, taking an active board member role until the company's $800 million acquisition by Salesforce. And I'm not done. Prior to joining Team8 Capital, Sarit was managing partner of Circa Partners, which invested in tech companies in the Israeli ecosystem and was part to some of the most notable acquisitions and IPOs, including Armis, that was acquired by Insight Partners for over $1 billion, Aluma, that was acquired by Google, the Misto, that was acquired by Palo Alto Networks for almost $500 million, Dynamic Yield, that was acquired by McDonald's for $300 million, and Fiverr, that's traded on the NYSE. Sarit is also on the board of Shitufim, a social impact nonprofit organization. She holds BA in accounting and economics from Tel Aviv University. One of the most impressive bios coming out of Israel. Good morning, Sarit. You're in Israel. How are you?
Great. Thank you very much, Danny, for hosting me.
Thank you for joining. We'll be talking about loads of different things, your investments, your life story, COVID-19, the opportunities in the markets today. I think obviously family offices understand and always have when there's an opportunity, they know they're liquid, they know, like Larry Silverstein once said, I never want to miss on a good recession. They understand that valuations are interesting. They understand that today they'll be getting deals that half a year ago would have cost them way more. So let's start with your perhaps life story, which is fascinating. I mean, how you got into technology and how you came to be one of the most well-known names in Israel.
Great. So thank you again for having me today, and I hope that I will not bore you. I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. So I started in my career in the high-tech industry about 26 years ago. Before that, I was an accountant at PwC. I didn't like it. It was too boring for me. So my next thing was to join the RAD group. It's one of the, I would say, initial groups in the high-tech industry in Israel. And they gave me my first chance to become an executive in this industry. It was back in '97 when I became the CFO of one of the group's companies, startups. The name was Radcom. And I took it public on NASDAQ in '97. It was a great IPO, although it was followed by the crisis in China at the time that made our life a bit more difficult. Then we approached the dot-com era, where every now and then you could hear about a company that went IPO with a valuation of $1 billion, $2 billion, even though they didn't have a lot of, definitely not revenue, but even not a lot of traction. At this time, I was approached by Yuval Shachar, a friend of mine. Today is a friend of mine. At the time, I didn't know him. It's 20 years ago. And he offered me to lead the IPO of PCube at a valuation of, at the time, we thought it would be between $1 to $1.5 billion. I relocated with my family to Palo Alto, to the Silicon Valley in 2000, just to realize that there is a crisis, the dot-com burst, and there is no IPO anytime soon. However, PCube, unlike other dot-com companies, was a real tech company with a deep technology, and we were able to weather the storm and eventually to sell ourselves to Cisco in 2004 for $200 million. And I always say to young entrepreneurs, you can learn a lot from success, but you can learn even more from crisis. And I think that's one of the lessons that I took from, or some of the lessons I took from this crisis, is that it's very important to remain very resilient, make sure that you have enough runway, even if you need to extend it by sometimes minimizing headcount, etc. And this is in order to save the company for the benefit of all. And this is what we did with the PCube, and lucky us, unlike many other companies that just disappeared at the time, we were able to finish with a very nice exit in 2004. I then joined another Sequoia company that was almost acquired by Google. And when I'm saying almost, it was again another lesson where you have almost, when you have a definitive agreement ready to be signed, and yet Google is walking away from the deal, which again there's many takeaways that you can take from such a process. And each lesson I learned, I use it in future startups and companies. With Google, I would say the main takeaway was that you never do an M&A in the open. So it's only between you, the management, the senior management, and the acquiring company, but this is it. The other employees in the company shouldn't know until it is sealed and signed. Then I was approached by another company. It was late 2007, asked me to relocate to New York in order to take the company public on NASDAQ. We filed the S1 in March 2008 with Lehman Brothers, if you don't mind, just to realize again that we are in the middle of a crisis, and Lehman Brothers just disappeared on us during the process. We withdrew, of course, the S1 by the end of 2008. However, the team MediaMind was a great company, profitable, growing, and eventually we took it public in 2010, and we sold it a year later to Digi Corporation for $500 million. I think that MediaMind is another great example of what it takes to bring a company from a startup stage to IPO and acquisition. And here, just that you have a sense of what was MediaMind, it was a company with 450 employees, $100 million in revenue, 35 offices around the globe, and there are many challenges and issues that you need to overcome. How you create one culture for the company, how you can direct everyone in the 35 offices to one direction and keep a company that is growing constantly, profitable, and this was a major, I would say, undertaking for the management and definitely for myself. And this was an invaluable experience that I wanted to eventually share with other companies in my future career. I then relocated back to Israel after 10 years in the States. I joined the company as a CEO. I raised for the company $10 million. I launched the product. It was a very young startup. Eventually, I split the company into two and moved to the board. And this was also the first time I started to invest as an angel investor. My first investment was in Datorama. Datorama was founded in summer 2012. The founders came to me with the presentation, with an idea to ask me to become their mentor and to help them to build the company. They knew me from before and they knew that I have some relevant experience. So I found myself investing my own money in the company and actually leading the entire seed round for Datorama. I joined the board as an active board member and a mentor, and helped the company to navigate through the 6 years until the acquisition by Salesforce for $800 million. And for me, Datorama was also the seed that was planted of how I want to see a VC or an investor helping or supporting a company. Because it wasn't just to give my money and sit back and wait to see what will happen. It was really a very, very hands-on support and bringing my experience. And just for an example, I think I would quote the CEO of Datorama. He always tells people, we could have sold the company without Sarit, but probably not within 6 years and not for $800 million. So even if he wants to flatter me, and it's a bit exaggeration, I still know that in many, many junctions, I brought very relevant experience to him, him and the management that were much younger than me and less experienced. And it comes to really financial strategy, how you set the right KPIs for the company, which is crucial to know then where it needs to go, how to drive the company to the same direction, actually to have a clear compass for everyone, how you monitor the progress and apply the required actions, how you support management's decisions. And many times they had the right decisions, they made the right decisions, but they needed someone like me to confirm that this is the right decision. Things like, operational decisions like on when to expand outside of Israel, when to penetrate new territories, when and how to set up a sales organization, how to motivate a sales organization to go after strategic goals and not only the low-hanging fruits. So there are many, many, many issues and challenges along the way of any startup. And if the startup is able to surround itself with people that can help him, it could be investor, it could be an advisor, but then the path to success is much shorter and probably much stronger. And for me, this was the idea. This is how I would like to make investments in the future. I then joined Circa Partners, as Danny mentioned. I led their 25 investments, out of which I have 10 exits. One of them is Fiverr that went IPO last year and is being traded at a $3.6 billion valuation. So I already exceeded the $4 billion by quite a lot. Then we have, as Danny mentioned, the Bisto that was acquired by Palo Alto Networks, and Argus that was acquired by Continental, and Adalon that was acquired by Adalon. Dynamic Yields that was acquired by Google, and there are many other companies in the portfolio of Circa that I'm sure that we will still hear about them, that are just quite new investments in this portfolio. And then, so one of the things that I wanted at the time is to create a new fund that I forgot to mention that Circa was a co-investment VC. And I wanted to lead investments because I realized that I'm actually contributing a lot to these companies that I'm investing in, but eventually I get a smaller portion than other investors because of the structure of the VC. And I decided that I would like to create my own VC and again, go back to invest and lead investments and do do it the same way I did it with Datorama, being very hands-on and really help the company reach to the end point, as I said, faster and stronger. And then I was approached by Team8 that actually wanted to join forces with me in order to create a real value-added VC. And this leads me to Team8 and 8200. And
just before we go to Team8,
yeah.
I just wanted to ask you this. It seems like you didn't miss a crisis. Like if there was a crisis, you were there right at the right time, right?
Absolutely.
Right after the storm. Now, I want to ask you this, and we'll talk about, of course, COVID and its implications on you and your companies and technology in general, but I'm trying to figure this out. I mean, you navigated very tough crises, right? If you're a dot-com, I'm trying to put it on scale, right? If you're a dot-com company, after the dot-com bubble burst, all hell is breaking loose. It's like, I remember the time, it was like suddenly from becoming the hottest thing, nobody wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
And when you look at COVID, that is probably the biggest nightmare we've seen globally. I mean, it's way more serious than all of these crises together. But from the standpoint of a tech company, again, is it as, again, when you're a dot-com company, the dot-com burst, that's the worst nightmare. Like this is your space and this is happening right next to you. Do you see technology companies in general with the COVID now in the same place where you were at the dot-com and the other crises you've seen, or you think the implications are less severe on the technology side? Because
yes, I would say that I would say it's just completely different. So first of all, just a joke, when I told my friends that I'm relocating back to Israel, they told me, please don't, because you're going to bring with you another crisis. Because they knew that every time I'm relocating to a place, there is a crisis. So I didn't bring another crisis. It took 10 more years for the COVID to appear in the world. But I would say this, in the COVID is actually a very, very different, has a very, very different impact than previous crises. In many cases, it actually accelerated the trajectory for many companies, definitely those that are in the midst of the digital transformation. And on the other hand, if you're a travel tech company, definitely you suffer, and you suffer a lot. Some of the companies in the travel tech and entertainment lost 90% of the market share or of their business. So lucky me and lucky Team8, we are concentrating in the domains like cloud, IT infrastructure, cyber, fintech, all those areas that actually the COVID accelerated their growth, and I will touch on it in a minute. Right. I think that it's important first to understand what is Team8 and what is the 8200, and then I can connect the dots and really show and explain why the domains of investment and domains of expertise of 8200 are those that actually, I don't want to say benefited from the COVID, because I hate that something is benefited from COVID. And in the short term, everyone suffered. Now we see definitely many companies that actually experiencing acceleration in those big enterprises that accelerating their digital transformation, that fuels the growth of the startups in these domains.
So let's talk indeed about Team8. I will just maybe say, for those that don't know, 8200 unit is considered the top of the top of the top in the Israeli tech army that again brought some of Israel's biggest and most well-known entrepreneurs, and that's what Israel's known for. So yeah, let's talk about Team8.
So I'll start with a little bit on the 8200, just a few stats that people maybe don't know. So first of all, really, as Danny said, the 8200 is the intelligence gathering military unit in Israel. They're relying on cyber warfare, and they are the equivalent actually to the NSA and the GCHQ. They're responsible for 80% of the intelligence in Israel. The secret sauce of this unit is that they have the first pick on a national level to choose the 1% talent from a high school graduate. So the 18 years old students, 1% of the best are chosen to 8200. And along the years, 8200 really improved their screening process to become really very, very efficient. The most important thing is that this unit creates an evergreen flow of talent outside or coming outside of 8200 every year for people that actually serve the time and going back to civil world. And to date, about 70% of the cyber exits are companies that were founded by 8200 alumni. And they are absolutely, 8200 absolutely is the main contributor for the name that Israel has earned as the startup nation. So this is 8200. Now it's important to talk about the roots of a Team8. So Team8 leadership, it consists of the former leadership of 8200. So Nadav Tzafir was the commander of 8200 and is one of the founder of the Team8. Israel Greenberg was the head of cyber and data in the unit. It's one of out of 4 divisions reporting directly to the commander of 8200. Another founder, Liran Greenberg, that was an officer and technologist in 8200, is one of the founders and also joining me in the Team8 Capital. And by the way, he will talk in one of the next webinars on 8200 and cyber in general, a very interesting webinar, I can assure you. And we also have Asaf Mischari, who was the CTO of the cyber unit of 8200. So these are the roots of Team8, and this provided Team8 many unfair advantages. One of them is the ability to really have an access to this talent. As I told you, 1% of the graduates of high school, but we could know at Team8 who is the 1% out of the 1% that we would like to bring to Team8. So we're looking at the people that actually left the army in the last 10 years. Probably they are now working at Google, Facebook, and maybe other companies. And we know how to spot them and how to attract them to Team8. And this kind of people, and maybe there are 20 people a year and maybe less, they are game changer in every company that they will work in. And these are the people that we are looking after, and these are the people that we know to identify, and we also know how to attract them because they want to work in an environment that is very similar to 8200 with smart people, technologists, and so we were very successful in the last 7 years to really bring people either to Team8 platform, to the group itself, or to the portfolio companies of Team8. So another thing that may be important to understand about 8200 and then about Team8, which later on dictates our investment thesis of the fund, is that of course people from 8200 understand very deeply the cyber attacker perspective and how the attacker thinks. And this is why they know how to defend, and this is why they know how to create successful companies that are actually defending from all these attacks. The other thing is that in this unit, they have to, they're getting huge amounts of data and they quickly need to generate missions critical, life-saving insights that what actually grew to become AI, big data, machine learning, that eventually also were capabilities that were the origination of many data companies like Datorama, like Planck. Planck, for example, is a portfolio companies of Team8 Capital. They are leveraging also the unique expertise from 8200 on the data side, not only the cyber side, and they're actually collecting big data, intelligence, using AI, machine learning, etc., in order to generate insights to the insurance companies. And just for an example, when I met them during the due diligence, they had 4 out of the 5 top insurance companies as customers. And during the due diligence, they were able to sign the 5th one. And really, I think that what the insurance companies actually experience is a military grade of platform that no other startup have the former capabilities and the domain expertise like these people that already for years did the same thing in the army, but for a different purpose. So, so this is one of the unfair advantages that we have in Team8. But I think that one of the things that for me as an investor was very, very important is actually the network, the global enterprise network that Team8 was able to create. It started actually with Team8 LPs. Team8 LPs were not the Team8 Capital, it's the original Team8 LPs, consists of strategic investors like Walmart, Microsoft, Moody's, Barclays, Cisco, AT&T, Scotiabank, and many others. And also financial LPs like Temasek, SoftBank, Bessemer, and more. And today we grew it to 200 enterprises or 200 C-level executives from Fortune 500 companies around the globe. And they have a very, very intimate relationship with the Team8 because they get a lot of value from Team8. So for example, we have a 5-day summit in Israel for CISOs or CIOs in Israel, where we can brainstorm with them on their challenges, problems, just, what they think, what they're looking for, etc. And they look at us as the cyber and data experts to really educate them on things that they are looking for. And also among the people, among the network, you see the community, how it is being built, where CISO from Morgan Stanley is sitting with the CISO from Walmart or CISO from another bank, and they're exchanging ideas, and actually this is the only opportunity for them to speak on things that are really interesting for them, and it's not with their bosses or the people that are reporting to them. And this really created a great, very valuable network that eventually was a great access to market to the portfolio companies that Team8 is building. Maybe one thing that I forgot to say, Team8 was built in order to create companies from scratch. So
unlike normal VCs, they are identifying a problem. Sometimes they hear from the big guys, right? All these Walmarts and all the big guys, what they're looking for, what's the problem, and then they go and build a company that fits what they're looking for.
Absolutely. So maybe I should have started with
VC.
Exactly. So Team8 actually wanted to rethink venture completely. So not yet another financial venture capital that invests in companies in order to eventually generate ROI, but really to find a way to do it better. So one of the things that they thought that if we will talk to these people, these big enterprises, and we will hear from them, what bothers you? What are the challenges that you're facing? What are the big problems that haven't been solved for you yet? Team8 will embark on a process of trying to ideate around this problem to find a solution for the problem. Along the process, they might meet a startup that is already doing it for a few years and maybe successfully, and then they shouldn't try to do it themselves. This will be a great candidate for Team8 Capital to invest in. Team8 will create companies only in areas where there is a major problem, but no solution yet. So just for an example, we have already 11 companies in Team8 that were built by Team8. One of them was sold already really a couple of years after it started for $250 million to Temasek, and actually brought an ROI of 3x on the first foundry fund of Team8. And we have many other great companies within the portfolio that Team8 created. One of them, Clarity, for example, is a company that already raised external money from Bessemer and others around $120 million. So one of the things that Team8 realized is that, okay, we have the great access to talent of 8,200. We have great company builders in our platform. We have a great go-to-market team that is actually building the community of the big enterprises and providing the portfolio companies access to market. These enterprises can become customers for these startups. They can become partners for these startups. And we know we're measuring how much revenue and how much business we're generating for our portfolio companies out of this network. And it's the tens of millions of dollars or even hundreds of millions of dollars already. And the realization was that, okay, now we have all this goodness and all these capabilities within the platform. This is the time to create a VC that will be able to leverage all these assets. And as I said, if there is a startup that is already solving a great problem, we shouldn't try to invent the wheel again, but we might as well invest in this company. So the idea of Team8 Capital was really to create a fund that, as I said, we would like to rethink ventures. So also on the fund level, we wanted to rethink ventures. So the idea was to create a real value creation fund. So it will combine all the assets that Team8 is brought to the table, go-to-market, research, talent acquisition, etc. And together with me, that is bringing the operational experience and the know-how of how you build a company and take it from startup to IPO to M&A across continents. And there are many others company builders. I'm not the only one within Team8. And together we felt that we are able to really create a fund that will be the trusted advisor for the startup, not just give him money, but really help him to navigate through the entire process. And this is what we are trying to do in the last year or so. So we actually, the fund is a $150 million fund. We had the first closing in March this year. With more than 70% cash from the 150. We are now already have commitments of almost the entire fund. And we've made 5 investments to date. And all of them in the domains that Team8 has expertise in, data, fintech, and cyber. And maybe Danny, you asked me before about COVID and how we feel that it impacted.
And just before you go to COVID, what's the minimum investment? And so what's the minimum investment? That's the first question. And the second, which will bring you nicely into COVID, is, and I asked you that a couple of weeks ago. Is it right to assume that at least one thing COVID made sure of is that valuations are way lower now than they were 3, 4, 5 months ago, and basically your being liquid provides you with greater opportunities than recently?
Yeah, this is true. So maybe I'll start with this because I think that the vintage of a fund is the main predictor of how successful it will be. It's also the partners and the investment thesis and everything, but eventually we really have the ability to invest today where valuations are lower, and I would like to explain why they are lower. It's not just because, many times we will invest in very successful companies. So it's not that we are exploiting the situation, but just think of it in this way. You have a company that started the COVID with a runway of 1 year, for example, 1 year cash. Everyone, and I'm included, will tell them, listen, in such an environment, you have to have 2 years of runway at least. So what it means is that many companies, successful as they are, will had to start raising money during the COVID in order to have this runway, which actually forced them to raise in a valuation that was not ideal from their perspective. They should have waited a year in an ordinary environment and raised then, but many embarked on fundraising now. And of course, there also the psychology impact, where I think that there is some, pressure on valuation anyhow, and we definitely will benefit from it because we are investing in this environment, and on average, the exits will be, let's say, in 5 years from now. I think that all of us here in the room assume that we will be after the crisis where valuations will come back to the old normality. So definitely we will, we are lucky to start investing in COVID and not before COVID. So just, I'd like to maybe start with an anecdote before I'll explain about our domain expertise, investment areas. So I had a discussion with the CIO of one of the largest bank in the world. And he told me that they had a plan to migrate their call centers to the cloud and working from home. And the plan was supposed to take 3 years. Then Corona hit, and it took them 6 weeks to do these migrations. And then they decided to form a task force in order to review all the other projects that they have for 8-10 years of digital transformation and see how they are able to do it in a year or 2 years. And the result of this is that many startups that will actually provide them with the capability of doing, going through this transformation will benefit from this process or what's going on with this bank. And this is, it's just one bank, but it's typical to all the big organizations that realize they cannot continue to work only on premise. They need to have an environment that allowing people to work from home efficiently. Everything should be on the cloud. And this really, really, really fueled what we see now. And sometimes we feel that like a disconnect between the global crisis and what's going on in the high-tech industry. But it's really the realization that we are in a different era and we need to get prepared. And those companies that will be benefited from it are really the companies that we are under our investment thesis are the domains that we will be investing in. So one is, of course, IT in general, everything that relates to remote work, working moving to the cloud, etc. One great example is a portfolio company that we invested in. It's a Silicon Valley based company called Setzel. They are leveraging AI to promote winning sales behavior. And they became, initially when the COVID started, of course, we made sure that they have enough resources for 2 years. But then we realized that all their clients and potential clients are viewing them as a cloud-based automatic tool that allows working from home, although it wasn't the main purpose of this company. So this led the company to sign deals that they couldn't even sign before the COVID. And one of the main thing for us is a major deal with Cisco that we could just dream that such a young startup will be able to sign in such a short time. So this is just an example of how this new environment actually in some cases have a positive impact. The other area of investment is, of course, cyber. Again, it's our domain expertise. We have a lot of experience in it, so it's easy for us to assess the potential of the company. And we know that cyber becomes more important. It becomes much more sensitive to perform work, on the perimeter, and people are working now from home, and it wasn't as secure as before. Also, many organizations have to deal with the emotional people that got fired and are actually trying to do things that are not really legal. And this also accelerate the cyber domain as well. And of course, fintech is the last one. And as I was told, if an 85-year-old grandmother is now depositing check by using the iPhone, we know that 2030 came 10 years earlier. So really, we'll see less coins and the paper cash. and the many more fintech companies. The younger generation is already voted, and they are using many fintech companies and not the incumbent banks. But now we see more and more people that we couldn't even imagine that they will start and utilize these kind of solutions. So this again fuels the acceleration of these domains, and I'm happy just to be in a VC that its original investment thesis go along with the reality and with the impact of what's going on now in the world. So Danny, I thought that maybe one more thing that I wanted to say about the fund and maybe how it's a bit different from other funds. So I will separate it into two phases, pre-investment and post-investment. So pre-investment, it's very easy for me to conduct a very thorough and quick due diligence using the great people on the Team8 platform. So when it comes to the technical due diligence, I will take the research people and the CTO, and they can very easily conduct a very deep technical due diligence and also provide me feedback on the technical background of the founders. And then we will take the go-to-market team in order to find the right people from our network that can actually perform a market validations for us on the startup that we are looking at. So one example is, again, I'll go back to SetSale, the company that we invested in the Silicon Valley. We put them in front of 5 people, 5 C-level executives from our network. All of them came back and told us, listen, they're solving a really major problem. We are willing to pay for this kind of solution, and it's really required. So it was a great validation for us, and we decided to make the investment. But more importantly, 3 out of these 5 asked to become a pilot customers for this startup. So it proved to us not only that the company is a great investment target, but also that this network that we've built is really very valuable, not only in the due diligence phase, but also later on, it proved that our thesis that they can become clients, and indeed, some of them are now in a very advanced process of becoming clients of this company. Then the other phase, after we invest in a company and they become a portfolio company, we have a very organized and methodical onboarding process where we get the management of the startup that we invested in to present to the platform people of Team8. So these people will know exactly what the company is doing, what they're looking for, how we can help them, who are the short-term clients for them, who are the low-hanging fruits clients, who are the long-term clients. And this makes our fund very, very attractive for entrepreneurs that understand that they will get a lot of support after they will get the money from us. And of course, all the other support of the company builders that we have, my partners, myself, that can really help the companies navigate the entire way.
Now, before I'll continue with other questions, I see here a question, the minimum investment and investment lockdown period.
Okay, so the minimum investment is $2 million, and there is no lockup period. Every exit that we will have, we will distribute the money immediately. So no lockup, unless of course if it will be an IPO and the lockup will be forced on ourselves. Usually it's 6 months lockup, but other than this, no lockup.
Mm-hmm. And maybe I will ask about when you're looking at a company. I mean, you answered some of it, but again, what are you looking when you're looking at a startup? How do you predict its success? I mean, I would guess the normal, the things that everybody would say, management, but I'm sure you have more to add.
Yeah. So I would say the 70% is management, to be honest. It's always about the team, but I'll be more specific in what I'm looking when I'm looking at the team. And remember, it's not, I'm an investor 7 years, but I was an operator for 20 years. and I had the first-hand ability to understand or to see who are the people that actually have the stamina and the capabilities and who are not. So I would say that when it comes to the team, I'm looking for intellectual capabilities. I'm looking for emotional resilience. It's extremely important in a startup. And I'm looking at their ability to execute. And also, things like, how they work together, and things like, they need to understand the drivers for the business. So in the due diligence, I will really question them a lot about not only what problem you're going to solve, but how you're going to measure it. What are the things, what are the drivers that you think that will lead you to success, and how you will measure them? So this is very, very important. And I'm looking just for the way they're thinking, not that they have the 100% accurate answer at the get-go, but it's more the process of how they think and how they're looking at their business. This is very important. Then the CEO, I would look for a CEO that has some kind of charisma and the ability to inspire people. It's also important. I won't say that it's a must, but I'm looking for it as well. And then, of course, the other things that are not related to management, I'm looking for startups that are solving a major, major problem. As a private investor, I might want to invest in something that I think that could be sold in $100 million. That's enough for me, maybe. But on Team8 level and Team8 capital level, we are looking for companies that can become unicorns. I don't know if all of them will become unicorns. Some of them maybe will be acquired before, but I want to have the belief when I'm investing in them that they're solving such a big problem and they have the stamina to go along the entire way so it can become eventually a unicorn. And lastly, I would say I'd like them to demonstrate some kind of flexibility, like the corona, for example, or many other crises. Reality is changing all the time. You cannot stick to your initial thinking. You have to be able to be flexible, still keep the focus, but be very flexible. And these are things that you are able to qualify during a due diligence. It's not, again, 100% assurance, but I think that I already have the intuition after 26 or maybe 28 years of working with people. I have the intuitions to see when they have it and when they don't.
Got it. And did COVID change your portfolio, your strategy, anything at all? I mean, I understand that in your area it actually helped in some cases, but still.
Yeah, so the simple answer is no, it didn't change because, as I said, our original investment thesis was in areas that actually got some kind of a boost or acceleration from COVID. I think that it's other things that has changed a little bit. It's really looking even more carefully on the stamina and the resilience of the founders, making sure that the company has enough resources with our investments. So I will not invest today in a company that I think that my investment will take them only for a year, which is something that before I could have done. It made sense. Today, I don't think that it makes sense. So these are more like fine-tuning things that I'm taking into consideration. But I would say that, again, the main domains that we're investing in remain the same. And even I would say that we might accelerate investments in the coming 6 to 12 months, again, to leverage all these companies that we are able to invest in very reasonable valuations instead of waiting for the uptick in the valuations in a year from now.
Got it. We have a question here. Since cyber attacks are going to be our biggest threat worldwide in the coming month, do you plan on some of your startups being sold or regrouping forces quicker than what you initially imagined before COVID? I think you talked about that.
Yeah, I can maybe just add on it that we definitely had many webinars lately on these issues because our network, the big enterprises, ask to hear from us what we think they should do. And we help them a lot in education and many times also connecting them with the companies that can help them. It might accelerate acquisitions in the domain as well. Like always, we are not looking to sell our companies yet because we would like to continue and build value. But again, if a great proposal will come along, we will definitely consider it. But definitely what's going on now with cyber attacks is, as I said, is fueling this domain tremendously. We see it every day.
And I should say that unlike, just to make sure everybody understands, Team8 has, it's a different fund that basically, as we said, builds some of its companies and invest in others that they think solve the solution. You don't build your own companies. You invest.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe I'll just make it just in order before people, I will get people too confused. So consider it as a group. Now we have a platform. On the platform level, we have three pillars. We have technologists. This is the research group. We have the go-to-market / business development group, and we have the talent acquisition. This platform serves several vehicles. One vehicle is a vehicle that is building companies from scratch in data and cyber domains. The other vehicle is a fintech vehicle. It's a vehicle that builds companies from scratch in the fintech world, and they are creating also a network that is very relevant to the fintech world. And my vehicle, the VC, is investing in companies in these domains, not in Team8, the companies that Team8 is building, in external companies. And our model is a very common and customary VC model. We have 2% management fees. We have our own LPs, 20% carry after we return the entire fund. So it's absolutely a regular VC, but it's a VC that is benefiting from this platform that is able to provide it, again, all the assets and values of technology, go-to-market, access to this huge network of enterprises, and talent acquisition.
And you have, and just to again to make it clear, you have phenomenal record and phenomenal success. I can only, when I'm trying to think of somebody who hit so many, great deals, maybe Amnon Shashua, right? Amnon is his first name, right?
Amnon Shashua, yeah.
Just very few names come to mind with such a, so you basically worked in the corporate world, were involved in mergers and acquisitions, had crazy success. You fell into the worst crises at the worst possible time, going to do an IPO right when everything crumbles down. You survived that. You developed a rhino skin, I guess, on the way. And then you worked with others on other deals and invested yourself privately, right? And I think that was probably the biggest leap. And now it's the first time that you said, wait a minute, I'm tired of helping so much the companies, getting a small share of the action. I should be getting more and get more involved. So this is the first time when you said, wait a minute, I'm going to do it my way. And then you saw Team8 and you said, guys, could be a great collaboration. Okay, so we have a lot of questions. So when you do due diligence specifically, GTM market validation, are you surveying investors in your network or in outside companies?
Both. So whoever can provide me with, good feedback or valuable feedback, we will survey them. So my, initial approach will be to our network because it's easy. I have already many founders that I know from my 26 years career. So many times I'm approaching them. So just for an example, when I wanted to invest in Planck, which is a data aggregation platform that's generating insights, I went to the founders of Datorama, although it's not a portfolio company and it's not part of the network of Team8, but I went to them because they did the same thing for a different industry. So their ability to give me feedback on the technology and the architecture and the people was as great as people from our network. So the answer is we will approach everyone that can help us validate it in the best way. We're really trying, what we're trying to do is to have a very quick and thorough and deep due diligence. And why I'm saying quick, because we don't want to lose the best deals, because the best deals, many people will compete on them. So I think that we have an access to either the network or to all the connections that all of us developed throughout the years. And this is the go-to persons for us when we validate an opportunity.
Is clean tech in the list of startups being invested, I guess, in or on the radar? And what is the level of success, say at exit, been with such startups?
Okay, so I'm not really very familiar with clean tech. It's not on our radar. What is on our radar is digital health. And again, digital health has many of the characteristics of cyber or data. So they're using a lot of data, machine learning, AI, and of course, privacy and cyber, and etc. So this is something that we will look into, but clean tech is not one of the domains that we will be investing in.
As AI, it's like a test, you know, I'm giving you, as AI intersects biotech, pharma, and materials development, do you feel Team8 can lend their expertise on the AI ML side and partner with others in these domains that don't traditionally have the AI ML expertise?
Yeah. So the answer is yes. I'm not sure that this is something that we will do very soon, because we started the VC and the fintech vehicle, and we have a lot on our plate. But the answer is absolutely yes. We are looking for different industries that can benefit from our domain expertise, which again is the AI and ML and data and cyber and privacy, etc. So each domain, each industry that will be benefited from it, it's definitely on our radar. I believe that it will take a few years until we will be able to cover other industries.
ML is, of course, machine learning. Does geographic location affect the possibility of a startup being invested in? Say one is based in another continent than North America or Europe, and how does this affect the dynamics of a conversation around investment in a startup?
Yeah. So I think that normally we will invest in Israeli startups, because these are the startups that we know better, and the deal flow, our main deal flow come from Israel or from related companies to Israel. Many entrepreneurs, Israeli entrepreneurs are now, they live outside of Israel in the Silicon Valley, in New York, or in Europe. So all these candidates are definitely companies that we will look into. We may as well look at other companies from the US or Europe. We will not proactively go to create deal flow in these continents. Again, we cannot cover everything, and we not necessarily have an unfair advantage in these territories. Where it comes to cyber and data, we probably have an unfair advantage, even if it's not an Israeli company. However, I would say that if I'm looking at the fund and the fact that we are going to invest between 5 to 7 in 5 or 7 startups every year, I think that the deal flow that we are getting today is so large and so promising that we are not proactively looking to outside of Israel to find new deals.
And okay, I think this is about the questions that we received so far. Oh, okay, another one. A great product is essential, but in addition, do you look at management style? I think we spoke about it definitely. Governance and company culture as part of your decision-making for buying a company, investing in a company.
The answer is absolutely yes. I worked only in a very, I would say, adequate environments. It was very important for us, governance, management style. My management style was always to honor all the people that you are working with, whether they are under you or above you or the same line with you. We are very sensitive to it, all of us in Team8. Our platform and our group has a great atmosphere and a great management style. We are friends, we are professionals, and we would like to enjoy our daily environment. And it's definitely when I approach a startup where I feel that people are aggressive or I feel that their conduct is not in line with our values, most chances that we will skip this opportunity. There are many others great opportunities. We definitely don't want to work with people that we will not appreciate their personality and their style.
Got it. And maybe just I'll ask, you mentioned the minimum investment. If a family office would be interested but would want to maybe get a lower investment at first, would you look at that as well?
We will consider it. We don't want to expand, the basis of the number of LPs too much, but we will definitely look at it. We have several exceptions. The rule is 2 million. There are some exceptions, definitely not below $1 million. This we will not be able to accept, but yeah, we will consider it on a case-by-case basis.
So great, Sarit. We will send, of course, everybody the information post this discussion. Anything else you would like to add at this stage?
Now, just that you know that we have a data room populated with all the information that might be interesting for you: COVID, fund, Team8 group, cyber, fintech, etc. Even just for education, even for people that not necessarily are looking to invest. And if people would like to hear more in more depth from me later on, they know how to reach me through Danny. So and thank you very much for the time that everyone sit here and listen to me.
Sure, thank you. Maybe a quick other question: what steps are taking in vetting a company?
So I think that I talked about it. It's a lot of technical due diligence. So it will involve discussions, technical demo, and maybe other things that the research group will do. And then market validation, as I said, through our network and through our other advisors and friends. And of course, meeting with all the management and interviewing them and, generating many questions to see how they think, what are the plans, financial, of course, due diligence and legal due diligence. So we are really very professional in the way we are conducting due diligence. Of course, we are working with the top tier accountants and top tier legal firms that are helping us to with the legal and financial due diligence as well.
I see we have more questions, but you can later on approach Sarit. I have a question here about South Korea. You can later on approach Sarit with more questions. I will just say before I say goodbye here that two quick updates. Yeah, thank you, Laura. Wonderful way to start her morning in California.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I will just say this, on September 24th, I believe, we're taking the courageous act of actually getting away with a conference in New York with live human beings, not Zoom, real people. But we're doing it differently. We're doing it at the World Trade Center. My very, very good friend, Tal Carrot, the president of Silverstein Properties and member of the family, is giving us the rooftop, which is New York's largest rooftop, to hold the conference. And I just spoke with Sarit. We hope that Team8 will be able to be there. One of our keynote speakers is Tremel Crow, one of the most well-known families in Texas. His father at some point was the largest landlord of real estate in the United States. Not bad. And I will tell you just one more thing. Next week, we will still focus on the Israeli ecosystem. We will have three very famous Israeli speakers. Sarit, I'm sure you'd know who I'm talking about. We will have Professor Leo Leiderman, that is one of, I think is the top analyst to ever work in Israel. Macroeconomist, is the chief economist of Israel's largest bank, Bank Hapoalim. We're going to have Karine Rubinstein, She's, I don't know how many of you know, she's married to the Rubinstein family. That's a real estate family in Israel. And she's the head of IATI, which is the Israeli High-Tech Industries Association or something like that. I can never, I always mess up their long title. And Mickey Blumenthal, who's a partner at Grant Thornton, Fan Caneh in Israel. And we will talk about not only the Israeli technology space, but also how Israel is dealing with COVID in general. And I will give you a hint, not very good. But we will talk about that. We will see what the experts think about one of the most interesting economies out there, the Israeli economy and what it brings. So I would like to thank you all for being here. Sarit, it's great that you've been with us. It's amazing that one of the top names in the Israeli tech space has joined us. I feel as excited when I interviewed people like Yossi Vardi and Dov Moran and Uri Levin and all of our good friends. And we will be in touch. We'll send you information on how to get in touch with Sarit. And I see people raising hands. We will send you the information later on. You can contact Sarit. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.